Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel where my raspy lesbian voice continues to plague me, and now I even look like a bit of a chipmunk, at least. It's what it seems like from my camera here. But there are many things to discuss, a follow-up of the last few days of analysis as the probabilities and statistics start to tick in turn of one particular side and the resulting areas of interest, let's say, coming from that. Of course, we'll also go over one very important thing for the long term, which if met would still imply that Bitcoin very likely does go, well, I'd say much higher, significantly, decently higher, let's say. And other than that, yes, I'd want to once again humbly request that if you do find this content valuable, meaningful, or in some way useful, maybe even entertaining, please do consider hitting the like and subscribe button, as it does massively help out the channel. In fact, we just passed 180,000 subscribers, which is like kind of insane, in fact. Very insane, in fact. Anyways, yes, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. I want to start off here with the 2-day time frame. The 2-day time frame stochastic momentum oscillator is pointing to the downside now. Bitcoin did close below the momentum pivot, and now the next momentum pivot, not for tonight, but for tomorrow night, upon the next 2-day closing time frame basis, is 22,800. What does this essentially mean? It essentially means that the signal that we were looking at here, that was born, I guess this was kind of like early December, is now effectively done. And this signal was essentially a volatility versus stochastic momentum signature. Again, extreme lows on volatility, as we saw over here, coupled with the direction of the stochastic oscillator, has essentially gotten these stats on a move that emerges upon volatility expansion. And in this case, this one actually played out just about to the T, dare I say. And as you can see, from top to bottom, or sorry, not from top to bottom, but from the setup given, which was over here, to our current high, this was about a, sorry, let me actually get this properly. Okay, very OCD about this, as it should be. This was about a 44% move, of which that was very close to the top side of the first standard deviation based off the statistics from the past 5 years of these particular setups given. So I would say that, that coupled with the 2-day time frame stochastic oscillator turning down does effectively say, hey, that setup is done. It's time to be looking for the next one. And effectively, when a setup like this is done, it's very likely, it's not very likely, it's like you're going to be looking for a pullback. Now, pullback does not necessarily mean the same thing as reversal. In fact, I do still think long-term Bitcoin very likely does try higher for reasons I'll explain a little bit later. But in the near term, probably does trade a bit of sideways and down as we got the next sort of brick in that building laid down here, and that does essentially increase the probabilities that we do see a little bit of downside price action. Anyways, moving on to the next few things, referencing. I can't even fucking speak no more. Apparently, actually got the old C virus there. I think I got it, guys. I think after 3 years of surviving under a rock, finally got it, man. Who knows what's going to happen next? Anyways, on the daily over here, we do see that daily stochastic oscillator will turn down today below 23,450 on CME upon a daily closing basis. So that would also be another means of saying that, hey, if you want a sort of hopium level, or it's not necessarily a hopium level, but if this were to be closed above today, then all of what I said previously is null and void. Look for higher price action like nearly immediately. You're very likely going to be looking back around about 24,600, I think it was. And while things probably have a short-term stop there, likely does reach up into the low 25s after that as well. But assuming that doesn't happen, then yes, momentum remains to the downside on the daily. So that's essentially an invalidation for the next few things I'm about to say. 12-hour time frame also going to be showing downside pressure as long as Bitcoin's below, what do you know, 23,450. Number continues to pop on up. 6-hour time frame, nosediving below 23,600. So again, pressure down. 4-hour time frame is 23,150 pivot, and the hourly is flippy floppy here, but probably down as well. Yeah, it is. And showing downside pressure as long as Bitcoin's below 23,100. So ultimately, all time frames kind of in concert right there. Yeah, sideways and down, likely the name of the game. And again, I haven't spoken about areas of interest to the downside just yet, but there is, there's one last thing I wanted to mention. The 12-hour time frame, which we identified 2 drives of bearish divergence. I think this was a few days ago. Yeah, earlier this week. Now there's a third drive populating as well. So if Bitcoin closes the next 12-hour on CME here or lower, then yes, that will populate. And in this case, generally be looking for a move somewhere around that yellow 21 exponential moving average. Seems to have a very high probability, which is currently at about 21.8 to 21.9 regions. So that would be one major area of interest. The next few areas of interest would actually be based off of the HPDR indicator over here. We went over this setup many a time. I'll go over it for yet another time. It is basically this. Anytime that the HPDR indicator closes above the top side of the blue 50% of historical returns range highs, that then coupled with declining volatility, which we witnessed right here, right here on a close over closure basis, and I use the moving average for that, the white portion, that then initiates a higher probability to play out to the downside than the upside. We can go and reference these stats over here on my lovely little spreadsheet. Let's scroll over to the HPDR, the 12-hour time frame. By the way, this is basically an insight into what the quant program looks like. And we can see that out of 50 setups with that signature, 31 played out in the downside fashion. So it's not like a humongously high hit rate, but that would give it about 62% hit rate. And we do see a lot of other things kind of, on the same side of that as well. And with that in mind, the average percent returned was about 8% after that, with the first standard deviation, as you can see right here, between about 4% all the way up to almost 12%. Personally speaking, I do think it's gonna be on the shallower end of this, but yes, we can go around and play around with numbers now. If we were to shave off about 8% off of current price action right here, that would put Bitcoin down around about 21,300, which is pretty much in alignment with the 382 Fibonacci retracement from the current high. If it was to be about a 4%, which would be closer to the bottom side of the first standard deviation, that would put Bitcoin where? Whoops, let me make sure I get this properly. Okay, there we go. 4% puts you at about 21.5 to 21.3 region. So those would be the that would be kind of like the areas of interest upon downside. What I think is most likely for the Bulas here is that you get a quick move to the downside and then a wick back up, a quick wick to the downside and then a move back up in a relatively quick manner, and that leads to continuation. And then of course there is a failure condition on this as well. So as we spoke about earlier, if Bitcoin closes above 23,400, I think it was, or somewhere around there, that would indicate failure and continuation to the upside, extremely likely. We can actually beget an area of interest to the upside based off of the average percent for the losing side in this case, which is about 9.25%, and that would imply a targeted region, as I adjust my charts, towards about 25,000, low $25,000 number. So is that still available? Is that still a potential? Yeah, it's always potential, right? But as we see, each and every one of these conditions start to, edge themselves in favor of the downside, I would say that the downside is more likely here in the short term. And then the long term, I still do lean towards the upside. That's based off of the 5-day chart, which I won't go over the full details on that in this particular video. And then also, as we get into the end of this month of January, it should be known that this is CME, but this also works on spot as well. Hidden bullish evidence is starting to populate itself. So any sort of a closure, basically above $21,500 on the monthly, which is, let me just see when the monthly closes. Damn it, where's my fucking calendar? God, stupid laptop. Anyways, assuming that Bitcoin closed above 21,500 in like 4 days when January ends, then you'll confirm hidden bullish divergence. And at that point, sometime in Q1, or I'd be looking for Q1 to continue to move higher. Next major area of interest would be about $25,000. And, even I'm going to go ahead and say it right now, $28,000 would not be out of the question here. That's where the 21 exponential average is for right now. You'd also likely see the monthly jewel light turn white. So long term, I'd still be looking up. It'd just be short term, probably a quick down move, probably another higher low, and then marches itself upwards and onwards, over the course of the rest of Q1 of 2023. So I think that's going to do it for this particular video. Forgot to show Bybit at the beginning, but Bybit, they have their promotion going on. They got 0% on maker fees for derivative contract orders. And yeah, it's rather nice, I guess. It's like I can't get my fucking words out properly today because my brain, I'm like having this massive headache. That's probably the worst thing about this damn C thing. It's this fucking headache, man. This damn headache, but it's slowly going away. It ain't too bad, honestly. It's really not too bad. But yeah, With that said, I want to be wishing you the best as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.